Alright guys, welcome back to another video. Today we are doing a disassembly and clean of this Jimenez Arms 380. So I'm going to give a rundown and breakdown on how to disassemble with the supplies that I have, how to clean. First, you want to start by ejecting the magazine, which I do have full. Set it to the side. Also, before that, make sure your gun is on safe. Right now it's on safe. And then we will take and check if it is loaded. Cock it back. If it is not loaded, visually inspect. Make sure the firearm is unloaded. And then note, even whenever this is cocked and unloaded, which it is currently unloaded, magazine well empty, I guess this is part of your firing pin. It does protrude. That's pretty much just saying that the handgun is cocked but not necessarily loaded. So I'll always visually inspect. Make sure there's no rounds in the chamber. And then for disassembly, you do need to have the firearm on fire and not on safe. And real quick, some of the tools and things we are going to use today or need for a breakdown and clean. This is more than a field strip. First, a push rod, which I currently have a slotted tip in for these cloths to, say, clean the barrel. And then a bore brush or brass brush, which I'm using actually a 357 caliber, but that is the only thing that is, not way too small or, way too big. I do have a pretty decent sized kit, but that is just what I have for that. And then a few different size brushes. Usually, an old cheap toothbrush works just fine. The brush that came with my gun cleaning kit, which is really nice as well. It is a little bit thinner than the toothbrush. And then I like to use cotton swabs or whatever for some of the cleaning. Of course, some sort of cleaner or lubricant, which this is just what I have. So I use it as like a solvent and lubricant as well, which is okay to do as far as I know of. I have a plastic pick, which isn't good for a lot. I mean, it works on some loose stuff that is kind of hard to get to. I have a metal pick here, which I tend to use as kind of a punch too for smaller pins. A flathead screwdriver. Not sure what this is, but I use it a lot for cleaning my firearms just because it does come in handy. It has a little scoop on one end, kind of like a flathead screwdriver, just flat end. That is nice as well. You may need some sort of pliers for some of the pins. They can get a little stuck. But now we are going to move some stuff aside. And I'm going to start with disassembling the slide. I will go ahead and release that firing pin, whatever. Now that is not protruding. So what you're going to want to do, again, on fire, try to pull this slide back, which it is kind of a heavier slide. Pull this slide back. You can see that right there. What we want to do is pull the slide back just, I don't know, half an inch or so, whatever you can, and it is a pain to do. Use something, I mean, you can use a knife, flathead screwdriver, whatever. You want to push that in and raise it up, which again kind of is a pain, and get it popped out. All right, there is the slide. You have your main spring right here, and take it out, set it to the side. There are a lot of small parts on here, so try not to lose any. I would recommend getting like a magnetic bowl or something like that, like a magnetic tray like mechanics use. And here we have your firing pin spring, your slide lock. You have your slide, your firing pin spring, and that. Now we are going to work on this, which a way you can do this part to get the other things out. You can put your finger over top of this little angled thing right here, push it down, pull the trigger, and it pops up. There's a spring in there you don't want to lose. Then you have this right here, the little spring. And then this little arm right here. Now for a deeper clean, which is not always necessary, take your flathead screwdriver and take the hand grips off. These screws are very small, so do not lose those either. The grip may need a little bit of help. There's some slots over here. You can stick a screwdriver in and pop the hand grip off. And then we'll do the same to the other side. Same thing, you can find a spot up here up top to help pop that off. Okay, now you have your safety here, which it may just pop right out. You got to be careful when popping that left side grip off. But you have the safety. There is a little spring right there for the safety, so I need to be a little bit careful with that. I did end up taking it out and cleaning it, so I'm doing this in the future because I did not record my first disassembly doing it for the first time. That's pretty well it. Something I did do, I did take out the trigger. I finally, after searching and searching, I found a video that at least mentioned the trigger, or actually done more of a full assembly instead of just taking the slide and firing pin out. You know, I actually found one that had like a full disassembly. And also there's this pin right here, which is for your magazine release. I ended up taking it out. You will see it in the video, out and reinstalled. But like I said, I did take the trigger out. The video that I watched on this did not recommend to take the trigger out, not to do it yourself unless you have a lot of experience, or you can contact manufacturers, whatever, on help with those. I can see why after doing it, and I done it before ever watching a video on how to disassemble one of these, which was not smart. I do not recommend. But there is a little pin right there you can punch out that will release the trigger, which will have a spring actually on the top in there and on the bottom. And then this little bar right here for your trigger. It took me a long time. I had to cut the cameras. I lost the spring. Well, the spring jumped multiple times. I got the trigger back in one time and was missing a spring and put the whole gun back together and it would not work. I went back. I found a spring that I missed. There's a spring on the top up here. and a spring on the bottom of the trigger. But I guess that is pretty much it, and we'll get on with the cleaning. Alright, after the full disassembly, I'm going to start with the stripped frame and start by cleaning it. Go ahead and take your gun oil, put it on your used toothbrush, and then you just start by scrubbing the thing down. Get it just about everywhere. I wouldn't say this one is very well taken care of, so it's going to be pretty gummed up. And if you need more, use more. Well, my toothbrush don't fit down in there, but we'll figure out something. Should have another brush right here. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. I do want to make sure this thing is pretty clean. We did end up shooting it after we got it from somebody, and I mean, it still fired, but it just felt gummy. And then now we see after taking it apart, it's quite nasty. So we will try to change that. I do take these shop towel, just kind of wipe down the outside a little bit. Oh, maybe rip that some. And what I like to do, take like just a Q-tip, get in some of the little bit better, harder to get areas, finer areas. Also, you can get some sort of pick to get in the really small areas, which, and I would say that is good enough for that part. Then what we can do, take this slotted tip and run it through, add a little bit of oil, and then run it through. So I kind of cut these down to smaller pieces because most of the time I got to cut these little fabric cloths anyways. Alright, that one's trash. Gonna go ahead and take my brush here and run it through. Which I've heard a lot of recommendations not to just scrub back and forth. You want to push out the barrel whenever you're cleaning a gun. So do that a few times. Sorry, I do have trimmers, so I'm a little bit shaky. Run that through. Yeah, I guess pretty well done with that. Which we'll end up going back to the slotted tip. Go ahead and use another cut down cloth. Put just a little bit of oil on there this time. Just kind of run that in and out. Alright. And what I am going to do... No, I'm not. Use this toothbrush. Really try to get that angle piece right there. Now for moments like this, I do like a bore snake because you can run it through the magazine well and run it up, and it will kind of polish up and clean up that piece there. Definitely starting to look a lot better. Alright, now we're going to take our upper receiver. I've got most of it done already. And pretty much take your brush, whatever you're using, to scrub, get pretty much everywhere. Like I said, I already got the majority of it. I thought I was recording, but I was not. Take whatever cloth you're using, wipe it down, get a lot of that excess oil off. Now, I honestly couldn't tell you what this is. It's something I found out in the yard. Cleaned it up, and it works pretty good for guns for the most part, especially these uppers, the slides. Just wrap it in a cloth and clean it out. But it's not looking too bad now. Right. Give my hands a little bit of a wipe down. Get another shop towel ready for whenever I need it. I'll go ahead and use it real quick. Set those off to the side. Now, the springs, for the most part, I don't mess with the springs most of the time. There's not much you can really do to clean a spring unless you soak it in something. Got some of the stuff off. Go ahead and wipe it down. This is the firing pin. I give it a little bit of a scrub. Oh yeah, trying to get some of that color back. that's looking good enough. Then you got your firing pin spring. And this is pretty much what locks your chamber on, which it looks like there's not much I can really do to clean this. It's really not that dirty. Give it a little bit of a scrub down anyways. Take a Q-tip, put a little bit of oil on there, run it in that hole. Nastier in there than I thought. Go ahead and do that again. Looking pretty clean in there now. So you take, I'll go ahead and take this cloth here, get in that little notch. There we go. Wipe it off. Now I got these handle screws. This one is very disgusting. Try to get it cleaned up. So there's definitely a lot of little parts on this 380. And it sucks. I mean, I love this gun cleaning pad, which it's actually double the size. I have it folded over for this little table right now. Even though it's more likely to stain, I think white would be very nice, especially having all these tiny, tiny parts. This right here is actually the magazine release, which it has definitely seen better days, for sure. Which I'm not sure if these springs are supposed to come out or not, but mine is not coming out. At least not with a little bit of force, but I'm not going to really force it out either, just in case. This is your, I guess, part of your safety mechanism. Just a piece of plastic. But I like to give everything a good clean. Usually whenever it comes to guns, if it can be cleaned, I definitely clean it. Alright, this handle, the inside's not really bad at all. There's not much to clean in there. But here, it's mainly just those inner grooves that can be touched up. Move on to the next one. So here's going to add a little bit more oil. Move on to the next one. Alright, not a clue what this is called. We will try to figure that out though. Probably watch an actual gun cleaning video and see if I can put in what all these parts are called. If I'm not feeling too lazy. It's the first time I've done YouTube in a long time. Spring. We got this little thing. Alright, take my Q-tip. Clean inside of here. Not too bad at all. Here's that little spring thing. I don't even know what to call it. I guess try to get it a little bit cleaner. Alright, it looks like we might be able to put it back together. There's a little pin. I'm going to separate these back apart. Now, real quick, I am going to install the magazine release, which spring faces towards the back of the hand grip. This one might be a little bit more difficult, but you may not ever need to actually disassemble it. So I'm going to use this thing to help line up where that pin goes. Let's use the flat end of this to push that in. Might take a little bit of pressure to get that sucked down. I went ahead and got that little tiny spring put back in, which I needed both hands for that. Then you're going to take this bigger spring. It goes right on top in this little hole right here. And then this little piece right here, it's got the notch. You can see it's kind of angled. You see the angle to the left, or I mean, sorry, to the right. You want that to be facing forward, sitting on top of that spring. So where it is notched out, will be facing towards the back. Alright, now we have this. This is the cocking lever tab. And then it sits, you want to push down with one finger what we just installed. That way it sits just like that. Okay, so now you have your main spring. Go in right there. Also, real quick, back to that little safety spring there. Not really a spring, but it is. You want to push down that. You want this little angle piece right here to line up with that little angle thing. So you want to push down, which there is this little tab here that will slide into that hole. Push down and slide it over. It should click. And then there we go. That works. Which we have our firing pin spring, and then the, what I would say, the slide lock. You will want to put them in the back here. Gonna want to cover that with a finger so it doesn't shoot out. Try to line those up. I would say this is definitely the hard part. Oh, alright. That seemed to have worked for the most part. Which you could have done this beforehand, but you can now install the hand guards, grips, whatever you want to call them. Take your flathead, which get them tight, but definitely don't over tighten them. I would say just get somewhat snug. Don't put all your might into it, and that should be enough. And just like that, you should have